This week is about installing Windows. To this point, our only installation has been in a virtual machine. One of the lab simulations has you install Hyper-V. Hyper-V is a Microsoft technology that is very similar to Oracle VirtualBox. We used to use Hyper-V, but I ended up having so much trouble with various pieces of it that I switched to VirtualBox and have not gone back. Since they are both virtualization technologies, you wouldn't really want to have both turned on. Hyper-V is used quite often, just a second, in a server application. So for instance, let me go to my server in the back of the room. I'm using remote desktop to log into it. And there are actually no errors because I know what this computer is, so I don't have to worry about verifying it. This is a physical server. It's a physical Dell server. On it is installed Hyper-V. WNCC for its servers uses Hyper-V. Hyper-V is really good at working with servers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 servers on here, 3 of which are running right now. This is one I tried for ad blocking, but it's ended up blocking too much and I just haven't removed it yet. This is the one I use to deploy the image to all the machines in here. So one of the things this chapter is about is the different methods of installation. I have 21 computers in this room. And if I had to sit down at each computer and install the operating system and install all the software, that would take some time, but it's doable, right? If I was WNCC IT department and I had a couple hundred computers or however many we have, I don't know, that's not feasible without probably doubling the size of the IT department. So what you do is using, actually I use Hyper-V, but you use a virtualization software to build what's called a golden image. Meaning this image contains all the software necessary for all these computers. I install Office, I install, Java, C++, Visual Studio Code, all the things that I need. And then I capture that image from my Hyper-V. I don't really know how to explain it any better. I capture that, and then I deploy it using this computer. I guess I could turn it on. We could look at it. Come on, buddy. There we go.
Hi, Mr. Lawrence.
Hi, Pedro. So that's what this computer is for. It's captured that image. And when I start these computers and I want to re-image them, I start them using a network card. We have talked about different ways of starting computers. You can start a computer from a hard drive. You can start it from a USB drive. You can start it from a CD-ROM. You can also start it from the network. There's a special little part of the chip on the network card that lets it listen to servers like this that say, hey, if you're a network card, come to me. I have an operating system for you to install. And then it will image that computer. Image meaning it applies the software to the computer all at once, takes about maybe 15, 20 minutes. And when it reboots, it's pretty much ready to go. I have to do a couple of things. It's called a light touch installation, meaning it's not completely automated. I still have to do a few things to it. Let's see here. So let's see if I can remember the name of that thing. I think that's actually the name. Oh, it is, huh? I named it the same in the VirtualBox Manager as its actual name. So the only thing this server does, which again is a virtual server, all these virtual servers sit on one piece of hardware. And what this one's sole purpose is to capture an image and then allow me to deploy it across a bunch of computers. So I could deploy it to 20, I could deploy it to 100, I could deploy it to 300. Once I've captured that image, pretty much I'm done. I just have to touch each computer, tell, okay, install this image. And then at the end, I think I have to activate Office maybe, a couple little things like that. So there's my boot image, which is not the same as the other image. This is the image that when my computers in here start from the network card, they download this little tiny Windows program that allows me to communicate with this other guy. Let's bring him up. And that's all this guy does. He gets the computer started communicating with this server. I don't have to have anything on the hard drive. I don't have to have anything physically plugged in. And then I have this deployment share, which has my image in it. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. Oh, that's the operating system. Boy, I don't actually know where it is. I followed the directions that I wrote out a couple of years ago. Anyway, that image is then deployed, and I'm done. And that's the sole purpose of this server. I don't have to have a separate physical server for this. I just installed an additional virtual machine. So did this cost me anything to do this? Not really. Didn't cost me any more than we're already paying, because we're already licensed for this particular server operating system to have as many virtual machines on it as we can afford. I mean, as we can have, as the hardware will support. My main virtual server has 96 gigabytes of RAM. And you can see I can assign exactly the amount of memory I need. This is my main domain controller. This is what, when your computer starts up, it talks to it and it says, oh, log in to these computers and show us the desktop. It puts the shutdown, oh, it isn't on here, but it puts the shutdown shortcut on there. This is my Microsoft web server that I did 2015 now, I think. Yeah, 2015, that I did for one of my final classes for my master's degree. And this is the Minecraft server that's sitting there. It doesn't cost me any more or less to have all these servers running or not. I only have one physical device. So this is a server side. Now let's log out of here and let's look at what we've been using. We've not been using a server-side virtualization. So let me find my picture. So this is what we've been doing. We have the host hardware, right? That's your computer. We have Windows probably 11 as our host operating system. This is VirtualBox. Boy, that's not good. So in VirtualBox, we can create as many guests as we want. Right now, I think I have 2 or 3 or 4, maybe. I don't know. Close this out of the way. I have right now 4. And sometimes I'll have more based on which semester it is or what I'm doing. At home, I usually have 4 or 5. They don't have to all be running at once, but when I need them, I can turn them on and away I go. Now, a server operating system hypervisor bypasses one part. It goes directly to the host hardware, bypassing the operating system. So that's one less layer, which makes it a lot faster. So VMware, you may never have heard of VMware before. VMware and Hyper-V are the 2 big 900-pound gorillas. Citrix, too, are the 900-pound gorillas in the virtualization server domain. So by bypassing this operating system layer, and going directly from the hypervisor, which is the virtual machine support, going to the host hardware, we make it way more efficient. We have one less layer to do things with. In our case, when we're working on our virtual machines for our lab, is having the ability to have a bunch of people log on quickly and all that important? No, it's not. This is perfect for training, perfect for testing things out. It's perfect for putting together a network where you can try something before you roll it out to everybody, like CrowdStrike didn't do. So you may have heard the CrowdStrike thing about a couple months ago. They released an update that totaled out banks and airlines and all sorts of stuff for 2 or 3 days. I don't know that that's what happened, but it could have been that they didn't test it out on a test network first. That's a likely scenario. So far, so good. So virtual machines. So Wednesday we'll install physical machines. Let's take a little bit of a look at this. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. When do you have to start a Windows installation? What if you have to replace your computer's hard drive? Well, Pedro and I both have desktops that we can replace the hard drive in. My laptop, I don't know if I can replace the hard drive on it because I've never taken it apart. But Philippine and I took her laptop apart, or no, somebody, who was it? Jonathan. He had his laptop apart, and he could replace his hard drive. But that's not always the case. We couldn't find any memory slots to replace that. The smaller and thinner your PC, your laptop is, the less likely you can swap things out. I think, Pedro, you said your new laptop, you can replace stuff.
Yeah.
So you can upgrade it if you wanted to. So the need for installing Windows isn't as great as it used to be. With laptops, there's another thing in there. It's called a OEM image. Let's see if I can. An OEM image is already got all the drivers and everything in the software. So for instance, there's almost always a way and it's stored on your hard drive, to wipe out your computer and start over again. And that image on your hard drive, usually, especially if it's a laptop, will contain all the special drivers for your laptop. Laptops are very specific, where like this desktop here, my desktop, Pedro's desktop, they're very general. Windows can install on there and pretty much put everything in it needs. Sometimes network cards aren't quite right. Video cards don't always install right, but quite often they do. So this comes from OEM, original equipment manufacturer. So what kind of companies would be OEM computer manufacturers? Would be the names of some. What's on your laptop?
Dell.
HP. All those companies are what you call original equipment manufacturers. So they give you a little cloned image on the hard drive in case something goes wrong. You can wipe out everything except that and start over again, just like it came from the factory. So you might consider it a factory restore. But what happens if your hard drive fails completely? Doesn't happen as often anymore. SSD drives are pretty reliable. But you create a media using this guy. So your computer, when you turned it on, part of what it did after you bought it is it connected with Microsoft and said, hey, I'm a Windows 11 computer, please activate me. Then it took a snapshot of certain parts of your hardware and stored that snapshot signature in a Microsoft database. So if I was to just take a regular installation of Windows 11 and install it on Hope's computer, I wouldn't have to put in a key to activate it because it's already been activated once, and Microsoft server will say, oh, this has already been activated once, we're good to go. So yeah, Microsoft, Google, all those people know everything about you. So what if you need to make one? You go to Microsoft, of course, which is quite surprising. You can make installation media for Windows 7, 8.1, 10, and 11. You do have to have a code or a pre-activated computer. This is not download it and install it and it's good to go. You have to download it and install it. So we'll use this. Yeah, let's use this. We can use this next week. I mean, Wednesday when we do this. We'll download a I have some blank USB drives. We'll install this on the USB drives and we'll be good to go to install our computers. All right, so do we need to install systems as much as we did 5 to 6 years ago? No, not as much. If you want to upgrade from one OS to another, well, you really don't have to, because from 8 to 10 and 10 to 11, it's been an in-place upgrade over the internet. So how often do you get physical media with computers now? Never. It all comes from the internet. So is this chapter as useful as it used to be? Well, no. But it is helpful to know what the different editions of Windows, and this says Windows 10, but it's the same for Windows 11. So the Home Edition is designed for home use. It cannot communicate with the server. Really, that's the big difference. And here we have Windows 10 Education, which is the same as Enterprise, but Education is Enterprise for education. So we can do volume licensing. I can image the whole room. I don't have to sit and install things. With these guys, I have to sit and install things manually. This allows us to image a whole room or 500 computers if we want, but you do pay for it every year, a big bunch of money. Yeah, see, really, there's none of this that you need with Windows Home because you've already got VirtualBox. It does have BitLocker, but do you really have to have BitLocker? No, there's nothing in here you have to have, although many computers will come with Pro and many won't. So which kind of an installation do you have of Windows? Do you have 32 or 64? And what's the difference? How'd you find out? Point at the computer?
Probably check it on.
So how would you check? What would you use to check it out? There's a bunch of different ways.
Information. You don't know where.
Oh, system information. Yeah. That's the one we had a lab on. So if you do you're talking about MS, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
That'll tell us. So which one do I have on here? Let's see here. There's the version. Well, I was saying that it'd be in here, but I don't see 64 anywhere, do you? Ah!
System directory. System 32. No?
That doesn't mean it's 32-bit.
Oh, no.
It's always been the system directory since like way back in NT. It's always been called System 32, whether it's 64-bit or not. Somewhere it's got to tell us.
System type.
Yep, there it is. You're right. X64 means it's a 64-bit. I had a student last year who had a 32-bit computer, but it's been at least 4 or 5 years since I've seen a computer that had to have 32-bit. I have a little tiny Acer tablet kind of a thing that runs Windows 10 or 11. It's a 32-bit. You know, little tiny computers will sometimes be 32-bit. Almost everything you're going to run into is 64. So 32 versus 64, well, you can either process 32 things at a time or you can process 64 things at a time. Which do you think would be faster? 64. Yeah. Do we have 64-bit applications? Yeah, some are, some aren't. I think the Office I installed is a 32-bit version, but Office takes very little overhead, so it's not 64, who cares? You're not going to see the difference. Adobe Photoshop, yeah, you can see the difference probably. VirtualBox, 64, because it does a lot of work So we want a 64-bit program here. So 64 can run 32-bit programs. It has a special compatibility layer in the operating system that allows it to run 32. And the system 32 has just been the name of the system folder since Windows started with NT 3.5. They just didn't change the name of the folder. Okay, do we have to memorize system requirements? No, because nobody has a computer with this little bit of stuff, so. One of the big differences between Windows 10 and 11 is the hardware requirements, and they're about to do away with Windows 10. So the hardware requirements, they really up the ante. You have to have 2 or more cores, which everybody has that. I mean, who wouldn't have 4 gigabytes? Who wouldn't have 64? I mean, these are pretty normal things. But it has to have UEFI and secure boot and capable. Well, almost everything has that. It has to have a trusted platform module. That's where older computers run into trouble, because that's a technology that's just not that old. So TPM is one of them. What's the other one? Oh, so it has to have a TPM, has to have 4 gigabytes RAM, not a big deal. Oh, what's the other one? There's another one. Well, I guess it's this one, has to have UEFI, secure boot capable. So older computers will not ever run Windows 11 unless you upgrade the hardware. So before I upgraded my desktop, I couldn't run Windows 11. Now I can, and I don't want to. So I'm going to hang on to Windows 11 as much long as Windows 10 on my computer at home, as long as I can. So to make this, they put in some settings in VirtualBox to make it more compatible. So they added Secure Boot EFI. They added these 2 guys in here so that we could boot and see how it's emulating a TPM chip. You have to have these 3 things for this to run Windows 11. All right. Let's keep on moving. We're not going to do anything with Azure Directory. Yes, here we go. We have 2 kinds of computer accounts on your computer. We have a standard, we have an administrator. What type of account do you suppose yours is when you turned on your computer? Can you install software? Can you make changes to your system? Then you're at administrator level on your computer. A standard account might be if you added an account for a friend, but you didn't want them to be installing software or messing around with your computer. All of these computers, when it comes to the desktop, you're logged in automatically as standard users, so you can't make big system changes to them. Those are the 2 basic types of accounts. Oh, final checklist. Do we need to know that? Nope, nope, nope. We've already done the ISO image. We're not going to worry about upgrade because nobody has upgraded this way for quite some time. And rarely do we ever do a clean install with media anymore, unless the hard drive has failed. And I think that's pretty much it. Does everybody know how to manage applications? How do you install and uninstall applications? Where do you go? Right click. Oh, mine flipped over here. Installed apps. Yeah, I don't know, I went to the wrong screen. But yeah, here's where you add and remove programs, which is what it used to be called. Now it's called something else. What can you do? So there's a lot of stuff in here, but there's really nothing in here that's not part of what should be in here. And I think we're about at the end. Oh, that's what I did. I deployed an image called Drive. I'm using image deployment. I install the image once and then clone it onto all these machines. It is not an unattended installation. I do have to answer a few questions. So that's why it's called light touch. But it's sure a heck of a lot better than walking around talking to all these computers and plugging in all the software and doing this over and over again. No, thank you.